All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to warm and sunny Seattle. And welcome to KubeCon. And most importantly, welcome to our day of FIDO Mini Summit. Glad that you are all here. I think we're going to have a great, productive day. There's lots of interesting talks, lots of interesting knowledge that we're going to be here sharing. I am Heather Kirksey. I think many of you might know me. I was previously the executive director of OPNFV, one of our LF networking projects, and currently serve looking after community and ecosystem programs for this set of networking projects within Linux Foundation. And so I will be your MC today, and just really looking forward to a great day of learning about fast data path in input and output. All right, so first of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Cisco, Huawei, Intel, and Netgate. They are the reason that you are going to get fed at lunch. So be very kind to these people. Lots of thanks to them. Speaking of lunch, you will need a sticker that says co-located event to get admission to lunch. We will be handing those out as we go to lunch. So that will be provided for you. And lunch, I believe, is going to be right over there, logistically. So, and also, speaking of things that you are invited to, this evening in this room, about an hour after the mini summit concludes, we will be having a happy hour. So to thank all of you for your great work, your time and attention, all the code that you have written, we will give you beer and food. So that will be in this room. It is starting at 6 to 8. We'll have a couple lightning talks from some of the other projects as well. And so it's just a great chance to get to know your community in a more informal setting and let us show our appreciation for you with beer and food. All right, so just quick agenda, and Ed's going to be talking about the agenda a little bit as well, talking about some of the themes that we have. I'll just point out some more logistical things. At 10:05, we will be having a break. At 12:50 is lunch. We will be keeping time. So I know that a lot of times we've got some deep dive topics, and people will run on past their allotted time. I am going... for speakers, we do have a time clock right here, so you can pay attention. I will be employing the very obnoxious version of being a buzzer today for speakers who run over time, and I will cut you off. Because we have got a very packed agenda, and we want to hear from everyone, and it'll be kind of fun to cut people off every once in a while. And then we will have, let's see, is there an afternoon break? Okay. All right, so there's not an afternoon break, but we're ending at 4. So basically, it's 6 is the reception. Encourage all of you to come back here for that. And so with that, I am going to hand over the microphone and the speaking capabilities to Ed Wernicke, who really, I think, needs very little introduction if you are involved at all in FIDO. Ed is the Technical Steering Committee Chair for the FIDO project. He also, at one point, were you TSC Chair at ODL?
No, but I was one of the founding TSC members then.
Yeah, and Ed was one of the founding TSC members for Open Daylight, which was the very first networking project that came into the Linux Foundation. And he's also very involved in the Network Service Mesh group here that is part of CNCF and Kubernetes. And so with that, I'm going to hand over to Ed to give us a little bit more insight into the day you're about to have. And once again, welcome. Glad to see you all here.
Hello. So, quick show of hands, how many people are very familiar with FIDO in the room? Cool. And how many people are here to learn because they're trying to figure out what it is? Okay, good. So, for those of you who are in the room trying to learn, probably the best summary we can give of what FIDO does is that we're completely obsessed with very feature-rich, high-performance data planes. So this is literally the how do we get packets from A to B. And we do that primarily through the VPP technology, which in addition to the fact that it's really fast, like terabit scale fast, is also pure user space. And what that means is, as we sit here at KubeCon, at the Cloud Native Summit, the fact that you can run VPP in pure user space means that you can run it on a pod, which means you can now build purely cloud native network functions out of VPP that are feature-rich, very robust, and performance scale. So again, I do want to pause to thank our sponsors. They are the ones providing lunch, so definitely thank people for food. We have a super packed agenda today. We have an embarrassment of riches in terms of the number of topics that people want to talk about around FIDO and the diversity of things that are going on within the community. And again, I will also point out the LFN reception happening later. So FIDO is super broad in terms of the participation. This is just some idea of the breadth of people who are contributing to FIDO. And this also shows up in our community activity. As we chart commits over time, contributors over time, FIDO is by far and away the most active network data plane project out there. So there are a few themes that emerge in the course of our agenda here, and we actually took some effort to cluster things thematically. So a lot of this morning is going to be spent talking about the user space host stack. This is TCP and UDP and other layer 4 protocols, but done by VPP. And this is super cool because if you really want to do high scalability, high performance TCP, what you quickly discover is your bottleneck is the kernel TCP stack. It's a great stack for a single host, but if you're really wanting to stand up a large number of pods doing very, very complicated large numbers of connections at scale, you discover there are all kinds of things that you need to do. One of the classic examples that I'm very fond of is if you want to have 10 million simultaneous connections, that means you have to service 60 million timers correctly. This is a deeply non-trivial task, and if you don't design for that scale to begin with, you simply can't back-engineer it into your stack. The next big theme that we have, starting after the morning break, is open benchmarking and performance. This is something very near and dear to our heart at FIDO, because performance is only as good as it is reproducible by everyone. And so a great deal of effort has gone on, both in FIDO and now we're starting to see in CNCF, to do open benchmarking that everyone can reproduce and do it on real hardware continuously to ensure that we actually always perform, that every release that goes out the door is performance optimized, and at any point that you're doing development, you've got the performance optimized version of the code. And then finally, the third theme that we have going through today is FIDO-based products. FIDO has actually gotten to the point where we have a large number of vendors who are starting to ship products based on it, and we have some of those here this afternoon, in the afternoon as we close, to talk about some of the things that they've actually been doing technologically to build FIDO into their products and expand the space of what's possible in data planes. So again, this is our agenda. And I do want to keep things a bit brief. Hopefully I can yield a bit of time back so that Heather has to buzz speakers a little bit less often than she otherwise would prefer. So thank you, and I'll turn you over to Heather and our next speaker.